Introduction to query functions in TanStack query. Introduction to query functions. So, hello everyone. We're going to look into TanStack queries query functions. Query functions are really important because they are the function that returns a promise, and this promise that is returned should resolve with data. And if there is an issue, should throw an error. And this query functions has this flexibility, and this flexibility allows us to integrate with various data fetching libraries, making them really important function for when you're developing with React. So just to go over this example, fetch user data is the query function, and we are using a simple fetch API to fetch and then get a response and turn that response into JSON. Basics of query function. So in TanStack query, creating a query function can be straightforward or complex based on your needs. So if we take a look at some of the example, the simplest form might just be calling a function like fetch all to-dos. You don't need to provide any parameters or anything like that. I guess more complex scenario would involve parameters, such as providing to-do ID, so you can only fetch to-do with the specific ID. And for those of you who took web, you learn that there is this async await, so you can utilize async await to handle this asynchronous operation. So you can see that we are awaiting from the return data that fetch to do by ID. And we can even use the query key to dynamically fetch data based on function context. But you're most likely to use like the first three: handling and throwing errors. So effective error handling is essential in any application. And in TanStack query, the query function here must throw an error or return a rejected promise to signal a failure. Here you see examples of how to throw an error if something goes wrong. So if something goes wrong, turns out to be true, then you can throw a new error, or you can just return rejected promise. So handling errors this way helps us to keep the application status stay consistent and responsive to issues as they arise. Integration with fetch API. So there are many data fetching libraries, for example, like Axios throw errors automatically on failed HTTP request. But something that you want to remember is the fetch API does not throw error automatically on failed HTTP request. So if you're using fetch, you need to manually check the response and throw an error if the HTTP response is not what you want. So for this example, if its status is not okay, then it's gonna throw error. This by doing the error handling, you are ensuring that TanStack query can properly manage the query's error state and respond accordingly. Advanced use query function variables and context. So query functions in TanStack query can go beyond simple data fetching. So they allow for sophisticated data management strategies. And by using query keys effectively, you can pass parameters and manage caching uniquely. So refactoring query functions into reusable components not only cleans up the code, but also enhances its maintainability. And here is an example of how you can structure such a function to access and use query keys dynamically. So we have this query key that has to-dos, but it also has status and page. And if in your query function fetch to-do list, it's going to pass these query keys, which include the status and page, and you can add that to fetch and provide like status and page. And we can talk more about this when we talk about talk more in detail on this. Understanding query function context. So the query function context in TanStack query provides additional control and information within each query function. And this context includes elements like the query key and the optional abort signal for canceling the query and even metadata. So for infinite queries, you can deal with pagination through the page param and direction. So understanding and utilizing these elements allow you to build highly responsive and efficient applications. So if you take a look at this, our query function passes signal, and this signal is used to cancel. Summary, so we looked at query functions in TanStack query, and we looked at how these functions can fetch data, handle errors, and integrate with APIs like fetch. And we also looked at the importance of context and the benefits of refactoring to use TanStack. So definitely look into TanStack query documentation, specifically the query function section, to fully understand its capabilities, and in when capabilities when you can, so you can use leverage in your project. Thank you everyone for listening.